Hello gainers, Ralphie here with some fitter philosophy. Welcome to another episode, another vlog on my channel. And in my last video I mentioned about my friend Sandy who quit her job, quit her existing life and set up a brand new life for herself in a very remote place. And I thought this was a perfect moment to introduce someone that I've known, not for a long time, but a very interesting character. His name is Dan and he lives here in the Nut Glen. So I'm going to take you to visit Dan on his off-the-grid home. Let's go.
Hello Ralph,
Hello Dan, can we come in mate and pay your visit?
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Oh well.
I'm just going to pat my camera down here and take my Wellington boots off.
Yeah. Bit wet out. Bit wet out today, is it?
The rain's on folks and I don't be traipsing mud round this beautiful home here, so I'm just going to take my wellies on while are you making us a cup of tea mate?
Kettle's on. Might have to wait for the sticks to burn up a bit, but we're alright, we're getting there.
Fantastic. Right, so
where do you want to sit? Where shall I sit?
You sit in your purple couch.
Ah, lovely.
Right. Lovely to see you mate.
Nice to see you mate. Yeah. Yeah.
I know that my audience are really curious that you tell us a little bit about yourself. I'll just pick my bag off, pop over, have a wee seat. Can I sit here?
Sit where you like mate.
Thanks very much.
Anywhere you want.
Rightio. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Dan. Dan is living off the grid. Dan, tell us a little bit about what brought you to the Nut Glen.
Well, it goes back to around 2004 because I was doing some work on the campsite just down the bottom of the field here, and the campsite owner was quite pleased with my efforts, and he kind of asked me what I was going to do for the winter. And at that time I'd only just arrived on the Isle of Man and I wasn't planning to stay, and I sort of said, well, you know, if I'm going to stay for the winter I need somewhere to get warm and dry, and he offered me a little shack just over there on the campsite. So yeah, it started there. I was about 3 or 4 years living on the campsite in the little shed there, and I used to wander up here to the Glen to get some peace and quiet and, you know, stillness and calmness like you do.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place. It's a lovely, lovely spot.
The Glen, yeah. It's gorgeous. Yeah, it's not a national glen, so it's one of these kind of forgotten glens. You know, there's quite a few on the Isle of Man. I think we've got about two dozen glens on the Isle of Man at least. But the sad thing with this one is it has been for quite a few decades quite neglected. So it was kind of the neglect of the Glen which sucked me in, really, like a vacuum drawing me in. And I just, because it's my nature, I just started cleaning the place up, and 16 years later I'm living here now. Yeah.
Right. So you really you adopted the Glen as somewhere that was overgrown, neglected, and you've become almost a custodian of looking after nature around here.
Yeah, I think it's more that the Glen adopted me, but you're right in most of those respects. But when you say overgrown, it was actually quite the opposite. It was undergrown, as in the local sheep in the fields adjacent to us had been wandering up into the glen for decades and just eating everything in sight. So there was no new growth. There was no little seedlings and saplings of trees coming through. So the forest was basically dying because there was going to be no new growth coming through. Right. So that was a bit of a problem. But I eventually managed to convince the local landowner to put in a stock fence between the glen and the field, which stopped the sheep, and now the trees are coming up on their own as well as the ones I planted as well. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And you built this home yourself, all from recycled and found and donated and discarded woods and windows and everything.
Pretty much, and all with my own two hands as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I basically came up here about 3 years ago with a hammer and a screwdriver and a box of screws and nails and a pile of wood and a few windows, and and I just cracked on really. I was very lucky. We had that hot summer when it was sunshine wall to wall for 3 months.
Yeah.
So I was busy right up till about 10 o'clock at night. But
can we have a wee tour, because you've got one room here with more or less everything in it. So if you could just give us a tour, we'll start with the stove, because that's really the heat and the hearth and the warmth of your home here.
Oh, it's central, absolutely central. You couldn't live here without a stove. Yeah. You couldn't do it. I mean, I do all my cooking on it. I boil all my kettles for my hot water, for washing clothes, for washing dishes, for washing myself. It dries my clothes. It heats the cabin. The stove is absolutely vital to the whole ethic really of what I'm doing here. Yeah.
And you've got some pictures on the wall, some cards from well-wishers.
All sorts of stuff, Clive. Ralph. Sorry, we keep things that kind of touch our heart, don't we? Little birthday cards and Christmas cards and little pictures that we made I did that with a little 5-year-old girl, and and a friend of mine painted these ones up here, and it's just little bits of knick-knacks and photographs
and you've got plenty of light in your house, because you've got windows on all 4 sides, a sloping roof, all made from wood, all made from timber. You've got your cooker and a sink on this side, the lovely panoramic view out in the fields beyond. What do you find, Dan, to be the biggest challenges of living in Glen?
It's interesting because a lot of people might think, not having Wi-Fi and washing machines and all these gizmos and gadgets. I haven't got a telly. I've got an old Roberts radio. But I don't always put it on, Some evenings I'll just sit here and listening to the wind and listening to the sound of the stream and just taking it all in, and I love that. I really love that.
How do you connect with the outside world if you don't have television, you don't have Wi-Fi, internet connection? You've got a mobile.
Got a mobile phone.
Yeah. But that's basically about it.
It's one of these old ones. It hasn't got the internet on it. I don't want a phone with the internet on it. I don't know if I've got any internet up here, but it gives me text messages and phone calls, and I call my family and friends, and people call me. So I'm in contact.
Yeah.
If I need the internet, I go to the library.
Yeah.
Use the computer down there. But we're 10 minutes from town, and so it's kind of the best of both worlds here, because you're on the edge of the forest, but you're kind of on the edge of the town as well. So you've got all the peace and the quiet and the tranquility of nature. But if you want to go shopping or to the pub or to the local chapel or for a coffee in town or whatever, it's literally 10 minutes walk. So it ticks all the boxes for me. Yeah.
Now, from personal experience, what would you say to anybody else anywhere in the world who wants to do what you're doing and live the way you're living? Could you first start with the negatives? Are there things that they should really be aware of that could be challenges and perhaps obstructive into what they want to achieve in their life?
I wouldn't wish it on anyone, Ralph.
You wouldn't? Well, that's fairly direct.
Well, I like this kind of living. I mean, first thing in the morning, I get up and I'll have a cold shower.
Yeah.
All year round. There's not many people that are going to want to have a cold shower all year round.
No.
okay, in the summer we might have one on a hot day,
Mhm.
but that's me all year round, you know. So challenges like that, you know, I have to deal with my own human waste. So I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to handle it with my own hands. But that some people might think that is yucky and gooey, but to me, it goes into a bucket. It gets mixed up with the ash. It composts, rots down. I dig one of my raised beds over, and it goes underneath.
Yeah.
I lay the earth on top, and then in the spring I plant my vegetables on it. You know?
So all waste is biodegradable, recycled. You don't have your bins collected, nothing like that.
The only rubbish that I generate here is supermarket packaging.
Supermarket packaging,
Yeah.
right?
So that's about it, really. Everything else gets, you know,
Yeah.
gets reused or recycled. Or
And the positives, Dan, you know, there must be things that you anticipated living off the grid, but now that you're doing it and experiencing it, what's something? Can you describe something very positive that you've discovered from the experience?
you get balance. That's what I think. Your physical, your spiritual, your emotional, you know, your psychological, all that. When you're living a lifestyle like this, everything gets put into perspective, and you find the balance. I mean, I don't have to exercise because my life is one where I have to get up and dig my vegetables. I have to get up and saw and chop and gather my wood, you know, and these kind of things, they keep you busy. I haven't got a car, I've got a bicycle, so I walk and cycle everywhere. So just by the nature of my lifestyle, living this kind of life, you know, I'm allowing myself to have the space in my life to contemplate and reflect on the issues and the problems and the obstructions that we do have. You know, there's certainly people out there that have got attitudes about how I live that wouldn't be wholly positive. But we're in a rapidly socially changing environment at the minute.
Yeah.
And people say to me, "Don't worry about it, Dan. You're ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
We'll catch up."
Yeah.
So that gives me faith and gives me strength that the naysayers will eventually be having their own wood burning stove and growing their own vegetables and chopping their own wood. You know. So
Well, you mentioned you're growing a lot of what you eat. You source and grow yourself. And gather from the environment around you. So essentially it's organic, it's free of pesticides, you don't have an excessive amount of sugar in your diet, nothing like that. So in fact, what you're living, one of the defaults almost of having this lifestyle is that you're remarkably healthy because of the fact that you're not over consuming a lot of processed food or consuming a lot of chemicals in your environment or creating chemicals around your environment like bleaches and disinfectants and deodorizers and all the sort of stuff that you can buy in supermarkets.
And all the water that I use for boiling potatoes and vegetables or in my porridge or in the teas and coffees, it's all sourced water from the Glen.
Yeah.
So there's no aluminiums and chlorines and all these things they put in the water. So
no fluoride.
None of that. No.
None of that.
No.
Well, this has been fantastic. I think we're going to have a second part, Gainers, to this video, in which Dan is, after we've had a cup of tea, of course.
If the kettle's boiled by then.
If the kettle's boiled. It takes a while.
You have to wait, you see.
Yeah, what's the hurry? No rush. And then we'll go outside and you could just give us a tour round your little estate here, showing what's what and why it's there. And you've got a shed where you're building bird boxes.
Yeah, I've got a few bird boxes going up
for the Glen.
Yeah,
which is fantastic because it really is. It's such a proactive way to invest in the immediate environment, and this is very, very relevant in this day and age in particular. And then we'll finish off with a wee. We won't get far up the Nut Glen because it's quite steep, it's definitely the wrong time of year. But we'll have a look at the Nut Glen and you can tell us what it means to you.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Yeah, all good.
Thanks very much. Now let's check the kettle.